Welcome everyone. I'm Ken Scarbo, Chairman of the Nomination Committee. With my right-hand woman, we're here to basically go through some of the candidates for the current election. Unfortunately, we have a few that weren't able to make it, and there was one person that
Ken, you gotta speak up.
Because of couple reasons with the family. So we're going to start by order along the way the resumes we put into the newsletter. The first person that is going to speak is Mike Leva, and I'll let you introduce yourself as far as what your plans are at least, and then we can take some questions.
My name is Michael Dargiter. I've been on the board from 2011 to, I think, 2017. I took a year off because it was 2 terms, and this is going to be the second term I'll be running for re-election. In the past, I was on the IT committee back in one of my first terms. I'm currently the assistant secretary. Right now I'm working on the Channel 80 stuff. It's been a little bit of a slow go because I've been teaching and other things, but I've been working on it. Some people, I think LHTC, it's up. I do have to update a little bit, but that's about it. I'm just hoping to keep this community as a family-friendly community. That's the direction I want to see this community stay in. I want to see things that are positive to families in here. I want to stay as the nice community we have now. It's a quiet community. It's a friendly community. So that's what I want to see this community remain as.
Does anyone have any questions for Michael?
Well, why don't you we'll let everybody speak, and then it'll kind of be an open forum to ask questions of anyone or of all people. 2-minute timeline, we're not going to, if it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes to respond. We just don't want 20-minute oratories from
The next individual will be Philip Honorado.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Philip, and I've been a resident since 2016. I'm an attorney practicing in New York for about 30 years. I've been on the board previously, served on the Human Resources Committee, and took a year off, and now I'm hoping to resume and also continue to serve on the Human Resources Committee. As an attorney, I have experience with human resources related matters and contractual matters, and I want to volunteer those skills and experiences to the board with the hope that we make sound and prudent decisions on behalf of the community. And last but not least, in order to save the community money that it would otherwise have to spend for outside legal fees.
The next person up is Michael Lockwood.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Lockwood. I am a surgeon from New York City. My wife and I purchased a home here about 4 years ago. I want to pay as much as we possibly can. I see myself transitioning and living here full time. I'm able to retire. And I've been on a lot of hospital committees and international service organizations, boards, both here in Central America and South America. I think I bring a unique skill set that would solve any issues or problems that Fawn may have. And I would certainly run when politicians run on platforms, a platform of sort of fairness with what we do and honesty about how we handle situations and transparency what we do as well. I think that's important. So I look forward to keeping Fawn Lake as nice a place as it is and even improving it so that we maintain the reputation that we have here in Northeastern Pennsylvania.
Next person is Marie Golden.
Hi, everybody. Marie Golden. I've been a property owner here for about 18 years, and for a long time, my husband and I decided, okay, do we really want to live up here or not? And we've been coming up here for a long time and really enjoyed the community and, the family-oriented, position that this community has. So we decided in 2014 that we purchased a house, and we moved up here full-time in 2018, and, we really like it. We really want to keep it that way, and that's part of the reason why I want to join the board, to just make, make the community more profitable, working with the community, and I'll look forward to working with the new board. Thank you.
Okay. Next is William Bassett.
My name is William Bassett. I'm a full-time resident of Fawn Lake for 8 years. I'll give you a little bit of my background. I worked in public employment. I continue to work in public employment for 33 years in the state of New Jersey. I was a licensed water operator. I was director of maintenance for 33 years of a large Bergen County wastewater facility where I encompassed all types of maintenance and throughout the grounds, buildings, electrical, plumbing, you name it, we covered pretty much everything in maintenance there. I also did volunteer work for New Jersey Fish and Game. I served as a commissioner on the West Milford MUA board, helped reestablish a MUA that was in severe decline to the point where Governor Christie stepped in at the time and went after the chairman for political corruption, which was another mess. I consider myself a people person. I'm always willing to listen. I'm always willing to compensate with people. It's not only my way or the highway. I like to discuss things. I think there's always room for change. Sometimes drastic, sometimes it takes time to go through change. It's understandable. If I was elected, I would be more than willing to work with the other board members. Always listen, discuss, and make rational decisions for the community and for everybody, not just for a certain group or whatever. It would give a decision made for everyone. I appreciate the invitation today from Mr. Circle inviting me, sending me a text message when I put in my resume. And I just want to thank everybody that's here today, not only the board members and public, but the other potential board members that are running today. I think it's a good opportunity
Bing, bing, bing.
to become. I think it's a good way to become involved in the community. And the bottom line is I want to see this community continue to grow and continue to thrive in the years to come.
Okay,
We have a good
we got more to go.
Thank you.
The one thing I'm going to add, I don't know if you understood what Ken said, that Brian Conklin announced today that he is rescinding his application for the board due to a family health matter, very concerning. So he rescinded his, and that's why he's not here.
Okay, next up is Tracy Harrison.
My name is Tracy Harrison. I have owned a house in Fawn Lake for the past 15 years. My kids have been coming here since they were 5 years old. They are now both in college, so my husband and I have a lot more time to come up here and to go to Fawn Lake. We are planning it in the next couple of years to move up here full time. I have served I was the president of the PTA for my kids' school for 5 years. I served on a lot of committees, a lot of fundraisers, worked with a lot of different organizations. I am a pharmacy technician. My jobs include filling the medication and doing a lot of the financial aspect of the business. So I am very good with financial matters also. My goal is I really just want to keep this a family-oriented community. My kids love coming up here. They have loved coming up here since day one. Originally, we owned a house with other people. When that house sold, my kids are like, you have to buy a house up here. And that's what my husband and I did because they bring their friends. They just love coming up here. So that's what I'd like to see continue as a family-oriented, safe community for everybody.
Okay.
And the last person to speak this morning is Patricia Gill. Back here. Oh,
She left. She went home.
I've been a property owner here in Fawn Lake since 1972. We came up often at that time. The house we were building fell through, so we became avid campers. And we finally built our house in 1987, and I've owned 2 houses. I'm owning my second house since that time. We love the community. I saw it as a small community, small family community. Everyone knew one another, and I've watched it grow. It's been manned by volunteers all of these years who have done a mountain of work to keep it in good shape from the very beginning. I didn't come on the board until 2002, I believe, and I've been on and off since then. I worked as a professional registered nurse in my career, and I was busy, very busy, so I didn't consider joining the board until after that time when I had time. And my main love is the environment,
Your boat.
the lakes, my boat, yes, and doing all things environmental. Although I have held the positions of president, vice president, secretary through the years, as needed. And I'm very anxious to see us, at this point in time, hire a community manager and move forward, because the association, the community has gotten big enough to warrant that. There's just really too much to do for volunteers, for this to be sustainable for strictly volunteers. So my goals for the community are to see it a safe place to live with a pristine environment and a friendliness and joy, and that everyone should have the peaceful enjoyment of their property.
Right, there's 3 seconds, 2 minutes.
Oh, was I?
Did you practice?
No.
What I'd like to do now is open the floor to anyone that has questions.
Raise your hand and you'll be acknowledged, so we'll do it in a nice, organized fashion.
And I guess the question would be if you want to address it to a specific person.
Wes?
I have a question to all of you. I listened to everybody speak up here, and not one person said to the audience, and we're looking at you, I ask for your vote. Please vote for me. Not one. Why not? I have been on many committees myself. I used to sit up there, and when I gave my spiel, what I said to them, I asked for your vote. Please vote for me. Nobody said it.
That's the only way you were going to get it.
Is that why you felt weird?
Fran, sit there and keep quiet. I just find it very disturbing that you're not asking.
Well, if it's any consolation, my words of hoping to resume is another way of saying, I hope you vote.
That's true. I heard that.
So I hope you feel better.
Will I vote for you? I don't know.
I did not ask for anyone's vote.
I'm sorry?
I didn't ask for anybody's vote, you're correct. And so if I come back to doing this a year or 2 from now, I'm hiring you as my consultant down.
I may not be around. See what this is?
There must be more questions.
Yes, Pat?
And I didn't ask you for your vote because you've already promised it to me.
You gave me $1.50.
I have some questions too, so we'll mix it in. Are you gonna raise your hand?
I was going to raise my hand to ask a question of everyone on the panel. Actually, 2 questions. Can I get to? Okay. The first question is for everyone in the panel. Are any of you impacted directly by the issue we discussed earlier, which is short-term rentals? Can I get a show of hands of people who rent out their property short-term? Yes? Anybody else?
No.
Okay, thank you. The second one is, just a quick one or two, like, what do you see as the biggest long-term issue affecting the community?
You want to?
25 words or less.
You want to just run the table?
Is that a fair question?
Yeah. you wanna
Run the
table?
gamut.
Okay, start on this end, Bill, we'll go right down the table,
Well, I think
25 words.
you don't want the community
It's enough.
to become too overcrowded. It's a quiet community, which is a great thing. There's a lot of wildlife here, which is a great thing. It's in natural state. And I think that is really what a long-term living here, I'm here 8 years now, to continue in the environment that we're living in right now. Family friendly, not overcrowded, you know.
Okay, so,
I think we just have, I think my biggest long-term issue is just keeping it a safe community. I know there's a lot of people moving in. I live on Oak Hill Road. So it's the speeding of the cars, the SUV, you know, all the ATVs. I think we need to be diligent and keep this community safe for everybody.
Mike?
My biggest fear is moving forward, the growth of this community. How big is it gonna grow? Is it gonna remain the size it is now? If it does continue to grow, is it gonna overpopulate? What is it gonna be? I don't wanna see it become a mass tope or a woodlot. I want to see, Fawn Lake has its own charm to it that the other communities don't have. When people think of Fawn Lake, they think, oh, it has the beautiful lakes, it has the pools, all that wildlife that's in Fawn Lake, and that's what I remember since I'm a kid. So that's what I want to see it move forward. It's a safe place, it's a family-friendly place. When you think of Fawn Lake, you don't think, oh, it's a party place, you're coming up for the weekend. You think, oh, my family's coming up, we're gonna have a barbecue, we're going down to the lake. So that's what I want to see it remain as, and I don't want to see it overpopulate.
Pat?
I think our biggest challenge going forward is growth. And looking at the history of the area, for the last 100 and something years, it's been boom and bust and boom and bust, and that's been the cycle. If that's going to continue, I don't know. But with growth comes regulation. You can't escape it. We have to be very clear with our rules and our regulations and the enforcement of those things so that we can remain safe. We can have a favorable type of growth and maybe still maintain that family-friendly aspects that we've all enjoyed for so many years, you know, in the community. I would like to see that. But really, it depends on, the board must be very diligent, which is really why, one of the reasons why I'm so,
We're running out of time.
I'm so concerned with hiring a good community manager to facilitate this and to allow the board to continue to prepare and answer situations before they come up.
Marie?
Yes, my opinion also has to do with growth. I mean, since COVID came around, it seems like there's not a house for sale in Fawn Lake anymore, and that concerns me as far as security goes. And also, you know, you think about all these houses, you know, being occupied. Are we gonna have to build a new pool? Are our rates gonna go up? You know, our dues. I don't think people really wanna see the amenities going down, but I don't wanna see, you know, our dues going up all the time as well. So that's part of my concern is safety and, you know, keeping the beauty of the community as well.
Can I just say that the two follically challenged gentlemen, if you take your hat off, we couldn't tell you apart. I say that in
Remember Little
kindness.
Rascals, My Identity?
Just say that in kindness to the door.
I would think that growth is something I think will take care of itself at the lake. You have to have a lake, you have to have a healthy lake. And I
Speak up, Mike. Speak out.
that we need a healthy lake. If you don't have a lake, you don't have a community. You have to be able to fish, you have to be able to safely go in the water and swim. And I know that that's critical to any community like this. Property values are maintained by that, people come because of that. If the lake goes away, we're just not the same community. So the lake has to remain healthy.
I agree with all the issues raised. I would only add the community's fiscal sustainability. You know, in the midst of COVID in New York anyway, you know, there's an eviction moratorium because people can't pay their rent. We don't know the effect COVID's going to have on the ability to collect dues or even foreclosures. So I would just add that to the issues that I agree with that were raised, and also, at the risk of repeating, to be able to manage the size of the community, make sure there's adequate, appropriate management for the size of it.
Okay, I'm going to insert a question now, and I've got, this is the easy one, so they get tougher, just so you know along the way. By a show of hands, first let me explain this. I can tell you that being on the board, as Pat says, requires a lot of diligence. Every year it's more and more time and commitment and research and everything that goes along with it to be a successful board member. My question to you, with a show of hands, and that also includes special meetings. Now during COVID, we were able to do Zoom meetings. By far, the most contributory meetings are those that we do in person, just like this. So, will you be able and be here to attend board meetings in person? Board meetings are every month. Right now, it's scheduled executive meetings every month, and then we have the open meetings every other month. But there's meetings that go on in between. Show of hands, will you be able to attend board meetings at least 10, 11 months out of the year? I'd like to see your hands, please. Okay, thank you for that. We'll go back to the audience and then back to me. Anybody else? Okay, back to me.
She's the boss.
Okay.
Who'd you pay for that one?
In your opinion, I'm going to just select 3 random. Let's go both ends and in the middle. So Bill, Marie, and Phil, in your opinion, what are the top 3 goals or accomplishments for a board member in order of importance?
In order.
Well, you have to be able to work with the other people.
That's one.
You have to be able to be open to ideas,
2.
and you have to be willing to contribute.
Okay. What about goal? What would be a goal that you would want to see? That's more interaction.
Goal.
Goal or accomplishment?
Well, in a way, this has to do, I guess, with what you're trying to get now, a proper manager, community manager. I think it's a good idea, in a way, to have someone in charge that could guide the board members and also listen to the committees and the board members. I think that would be a positive goal moving forward.
Okay. We'll go to the end, Phil.
Well, while serving on the board, to increase as much as possible your ability to analyze issues, to increase your ability to weigh in on them objectively, and thirdly, as time goes by, to acquire information and insight and comments outside the boardroom, and that is out on the street in the community, and always increase your feel for what people are thinking and feeling outside of the 4 walls.
Okay. Thank you. Marie.
I would say that you'd be able to work with the board members, be able to discuss things positively, and if you have negative comments, everybody should sit down and discuss them. And the members should be able to, attend every meeting and be a little bit more active out in the community, even if it takes going to like a township meeting for certain things. And other would be to be able to express, especially when you're on the board, you can't really have like a conflict of interest. You have to, so you have to submit that as well. And a goal, I guess, a goal would be just to keep the community financially stable, and really just working with the board to be able to, create positive comments and, positive goals for the community. Anything specifically, but.
One of the big struggles when you're a board member, most of you already know this, is to try to keep your personal feelings and opinions aside and be able to vote in the best interest of the community. So that being said, like an answer I'm going to hold you to is I'm going to be on the board for 2 more years. If a professional was to come here and our attorney give you legal advice based on the best interests of the community. For instance, if you're a pigeon lover, the pigeons have to go, according to our covenants. And you might have to make a decision, are they going or they staying? You're gonna vote, well, I like pigeons, I don't wanna vote to get rid of the pigeons because you like them. And this is gonna happen. Might be the overpopulation of deer, the geese might have to go at some point, and I think a lot of board members are usually reluctant to make a decision based on their own personal opinions. So yes or no, if that does come up in the next 2 years, I'll remind you what you said today. You should be able to make a decision based on the best interest of the community that clearly goes against your own personal opinions and your own personal thoughts. I'll start with the left.
Yes, I think that is a positive statement you just made. It would be in the best interest of everyone. And especially, like, say for instance, deer management or something came up as a topic. You know, if a state biologist came in or somebody and it was in the best interest that he should go ahead with a deer culling or whatever. You know, I mean, that's such a hot topic here.
Well, it is.
Wildlife, right. You got people that are afraid of deer, people afraid of bears. You got fisher cats. You're in the woods. You're in the Poconos.
Okay.
And these are things that are here. And
So your answer is yes, thank you.
it is, yes.
Yes. I feel that one of the real reasons I would like to be on the board is because I would like to be able to make decisions for this community. You know, we hear a lot, not being on the board, I mean, you hear a lot of decisions that were made, and we don't know why they were made. We don't know if it was good for us, if it was bad for us. So I feel that you have to make that decision based on what a professional tells you, not on how you feel about something.
I feel yes, but at the same point, every board member is entitled to give their opinion to something. If you don't agree with something, you know, not all board members are going to agree on a topic. Sometimes there are very contentious topics that the board will clash on. So it becomes part of the discussion. So, you know, some things everybody's, yeah, we're in favor, and then there's topics that, yeah, with your heart, you've done your research, and there's a lot of debate. You know, this is the reason why, and then there, you know, so-and-so telling you, well, this is the reason why. And there's discussion, so yes and no. I mean, part of it's the deer topic. I mean, some people are in favor of a deer cull, some people are not. Why not? There was a topic 2 years ago, the Sportsman Club. I mean, that was probably the most contentious topic I remember in the last 10 years. You know, some people are in favor, this is the reasons why it's good. Some people were not in favor, and these are the reasons why. And, you know, there has to be, it can't be like all yes or all no. There's gonna be topics that everybody's gonna debate on. Maybe your neighbors are like, hey, you know, I don't like this topic that's brought up. So, you know, here's what I'm hearing from my neighbors. You bring that, you know, all your neighbors are coming to you like, I don't like this idea. So you bring that before, like, hey, all my neighbors don't like this. This is their reasons why. This is how I feel on it. So that's where I stand with that.
Thank you.
Yes, I would be able to do that, and I have done that. And I will do that going forward because I'm not here to serve my interests. I don't really have any self-interest. And as far as, since you mentioned the deer rate, this is not an opinion thing of whether we like deer or we don't like deer. We all love deer. They're graceful, lovely animals. We have too many of them. That's a fact. The guidelines tell us that a community this size can support 16 to 20 deer. We have hundreds. So what's happening with that? The environment is being destroyed, and being the environmental person, I'm really concerned about that. You can look through there, you don't see any undergrowth.
Watch your time, Pat.
It's all gone. I'm finished.
It was supposed to be kind of a state response.
Yeah, well, I did state it, but
I say yes as well. My reason for that as well. I served on a grand jury twice in New Jersey, 2 6-month periods, once a week, and we had to sit there and discuss. We sit down and listen to these cases, and there were times where you had an opinion about something, but really when you come down to it, you have to look at the law, and then you can't base your personal opinions on anything. So, you know, that's kind of the way I feel. I wouldn't put my personal opinion. I would listen to everybody's discussions and then vote in according that way.
I would say definitely yes as well. We're all individuals, we all have an opinion, but I've been on enough boards with people with opposite opinions and opposite discussions, and we listen to what the experts have to say. We discuss, we debate, we sometimes argue, but at the end of the day, there's a good for the whole, and that's what that's where the conclusion has to, get to. So, yeah, you have to be open to opinions, you have to hear what people have to say, and, that's how we approach it. And again, with fairness and honesty with how you look at these issues.
John, I would have asked a different question. I would have asked, do any of you have a matter of personal interest or agenda that you foresee would pose a conflict of interest in the future while you're serving on the board? Because if any one of us can't decide and analyze objectively, we shouldn't be here. I mean, that's a question you have to ask yourself before you consider a candidacy. That's the duty and obligation of board members, is to serve the board, serve the community. Your client is not yourself. You're not advocating for yourself. You're advocating for the community. And you have to think and introspect about whether you can do that before you even throw your hat in the ring. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a message that, I don't know, masks are, they can't.
They can't
folks
hear.
on Facebook can't understand what you're saying, so I'm gonna ask
Yeah,
you
microphone
to
would have
speak.
been good.
Don't spit, sneeze, cough, or otherwise expel
Yeah.
fluid, or take your mask off, and speak out that way.
Nice and loud too, they can't hear. The
Yeah,
people have
nice
been
and
playing the
loud.
whole time.
And I have on my juicy little list of questions, and I'm gonna ask you to answer this question because I know you know it. And I want everybody to hear. Can you define in language as it relates to a board what a conflict of interest looks like?
Well, a conflict of interest is a matter that's presented for the board's consideration, which you have an immediate, the risk of repeating, interest in. Can you gain or lose monetarily for an issue that's before the board? Will a matter before the board impact in a favorable way or an unfavorable way the use and enjoyment of your property? If these matters are on the table for board analysis and consideration and debate and vote, then you should recuse yourself from being involved. So, we are going to confront issues and matters that will impact us individually, but it's the duty and responsibility for each board member to avoid conflicts of interest by being vigilant, so that when these things arise, you take a step back and say, I can't participate in this because it's going to impact me one way or the other, and for that reason a conflict exists, and I have a duty and responsibility to abstain.
John, you got that going forward? I quite well go back and forth to the audience because I have 2 pages.
You better bring lunch.
We brought lunch.
You better bring dinner.
Is there a question? Okay. Scenario. Some negative and controversial social media, particularly Facebook posts, this all might sound familiar, directed at a board member or members, employees, or other Fawn Lake Forest volunteers, or all the above, appear on a non-Fawn Lake Forest Association sanctioned Facebook page. What do you do? I'm going to give you a couple scenarios and allow you, if you don't like any of mine, you can present your own. A, participate with your own negative posting comments. And I'm saying these things because maybe this might have happened. B, discuss the posts at an open board meeting. C, discuss the posts with the board and or department to substantiate that validity and any follow-up if appropriate. D, create your own Facebook page to post offsetting remarks. E, other. I'm going to ask you each as briefly as possible to give us your answers. Phil, can you start at your end and we'll come down?
Yeah, this issue arises very, very often. My clients have the same issue. And it really is where the First Amendment clashes with our individual rights to be free from libel and slander. Of those options, what I would choose is discuss it with the board, because I wouldn't take it upon myself to go and do an independent inquiry. The board is the management of this community. So the first step is to discuss it with the board and plan a cause of action. You can't stop it, you can't muffle people, but on the other hand, the content and other characteristics of the communication may rise to a level where it's actionable. We may even get hurt as an organization, or we may get libel or slandered as an individual. So I think the course of action should first be approached determined by the board.
Thank you. Mike?
I think the board should decide when ends up happening, but I'm of the type to simply say, consider the source, consider the source and not give it any attention, because by giving it attention, you give it validity. I would ignore it unless the board wanted to do something more, but I don't think it's worth our time to mess with stuff like that.
I would say, what was it, C, what was
Speak
the?
out a little bit so they can hear you.
Discuss with the board.
C was discuss the post with the board and or department to substantiate validity and any follow-up if appropriate.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say it probably needs to be discussed and just maybe take some action to see what kind of validity there is to any of it, and just take it from there. I don't think it should just be ignored.
We've lived through this, and it was very destructive, very mean-spirited, ruined people's reputations, and in these days of social media, there's not a whole lot we can do to stop it, but I would take C as the course of action to discuss it with the board, look into the allegations, and then perhaps put something officially out stating, that the truth of the matter. Just to put out the truth of the matter, but there's really nothing you can do. People can say what they want about you, and really we largely don't have a defense.
Mike?
I would say C, and I think today is an example of it where there was that question I was posted on unofficial and Pat addressed it at the beginning of the meeting.
But the person I put it on wasn't here.
Yeah, so, but my opinion is, anyone that comes to me complaining, I say, go to the board meeting, address it at the board meeting. There's a complaint form in the office, get a complaint form, right thing. Like, I don't care what you put on social media, you should be in the office. If something's bothering you that much, fill out the complaint form. If it's bothering you that much, and you want to discuss it, why are you posting on Facebook? Go to a board meeting. So.
I also agree with C, and you can never ever comment. You can't say anything as a board. I'm talking now, you can't hear me? As a board, you should not be saying anything. We should be discussing it, but you should never ever answer people on Facebook.
Okay. Bill?
Yes, I also agree with C. And I remember the incident that occurred here a couple of years back, which I have someone I know managed a couple of property manager, a couple of communities in Pennsylvania. And it appears that type of actions occurs in the other communities also. It's nothing new. But once again, I think the bottom line is these people have accusations, they supposedly know everything. Bring forth the proof. Bring forth the proof. And, people get sucked in and, you don't know. Unfortunately. It was very, very negative impact. But like I say, he being a property manager in other communities said he's heard it all before. It's nothing new. It just, somebody takes the ball and runs with it.
Thank you. We'll go back up to you guys, but as I said,
Hey, I gotta be home today. For what?
well, we've
They don't want you to come home anyway.
You weren't here, go back.
The backbone of this community's success is the hard work of its volunteers and employees. And we have a noisy volunteer at the moment.
You noticed.
I have a question that needs to be answered.
Okay. If not elected to the board of directors, with a show of hands, and John, you're leaving, so my eyeballs are peeled to see whose hands go up. If you are not elected to the board of directors, will you volunteer to serve on a committee? Show of hands, I'd like to see your hands. Okay, click, 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 click. It's a dark as the
You're on candid camera.
Thank you. Next question, again, this is for all of us and for me to, have you already volunteered to serve on a committee? If so, raise your hands. I'd like to see those that are up in the air so they can see them. Okay, great, thank you. Does Fawn Lake Forest have a mission statement? And if not, we'll write one. But first question, it might be a trick question. Does Fawn Lake Forest have a mission statement? Yes, raise your hand. If you think Fawn Lake Forest has a mission statement. Yes, Fawn Lake Forest does have a mission statement. Altogether, what are Fawn Lake Forest governing documents? Not hard, there's two. Say it out loud, I will watch your mouth. Pull your mask down, I want to see who speaks here.
The restrictive covenants and the bylaws, and
Yes.
also our rules and regulations.
Yes.
Primarily the restrictive covenants and the bylaws.
Yes. Pat, I will ask you, because I know you want to speak, how important is it to know every word in those documents forward and backward?
Well, I'll tell you, after all these years, I'm still referring to it because I don't know all the words, because it's impossible, but I refer to it often. It's like our Bible,
It is.
or our Constitution, I should say.
Excuse me, you're interrupting over there.
I've got residents that are waiting there too.
Somebody else can ask the question, let me hear.
They're all mad.
You have a question? Yes.
Well, I hope nobody asked. I'm sorry I was late, so I'm not sure. It worried me that many people in this community have presented themselves as candidates to the election. And after they have been elected, they didn't show up to the vote. And we are missing in action. I would like these candidates commit themselves, if they are elected, to really work for the community.
So do you want that with a show of hands?
Yes, I would like to commit on that. Because that will be my different vote.
Right.
We have had several cases that were outrageous about
We've seen that, yes.
Back to Dick's. Okay.
You done?
No, no.
Ah,
I'm gonna ask an easy question now. The primary communication tool for the board is email. We don't pick up the phone and call each other all the time unless it's an emergency. And board are required to submit digital documents, motion sheets, committee reports. Do you have a computer? Do you know how to use the computer? Can you retrieve, manage, and use email and Word? Show of hands if you can do all those things. Okay, no, that's important. Now we get to the tougher question. A board of directors vote on a controversial topic does not go your way. What do?
true.
A, tell all your friends and residents in person or on the Facebook page that the vote did not go your way, and you take a stand against the outcome of the vote so all know your position. B, if the board has decided, and while you may not agree, your position is to stand with the majority of the board's vote. C, proceed to garnish public support to have the board vote overturned in favor of what you want. D, in the future, to avoid such conflict, you decide to abstain from votes on controversial topics. D, other. On the gamut, let's start
It's
this
B
end.
to go with the majority vote.
Yeah, if I didn't win, I'd have to, accept what the vote was and go to the next one.
Mike?
You have to go along with it. Majority voted, that's how it went. That's the majority. Sometimes you're not happy, but that's just the way it is.
Mr. Bizzani, are you listening to all these answers? Yeah.
I pick other. And the other that I would pick is, if I still thought I was right, I would just watch. Because I've been wrong once.
You don't remember when it was though, right?
It's a long time ago.
And so I'd watch it, and if what I feared was happening with the vote, I would bring it up again in time. But, I mean, you have to expect that the majority probably is right, you know, and just go along with it and see what happens. But then if it's not working out right, I can bring it up again later and say, you know, we voted this way, but look what happened. That's what I feared. I think we should have done thus and so.
Okay, just one question. If you have a question come up and everybody's voting one way and you're the only person voting that way, and if you don't vote that way, does it just not go through, or does it get
Correct,
discussed?
majority.
It's majority vote.
Okay. Okay, I guess, if I thought I was wrong or something, and then I feel like I have to go with the majority, then I'll go that way. Otherwise, we'll just have to try to continue discussions, if I had some proof to believe it was my way.
Because, again, the point of this is that as a board, you present yourself as a unit. And when you start becoming factious, it gets done very quickly.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, were you done, Marie?
No, I'm done.
Okay, Mike?
The discussion is had, the facts are presented, arguments are made, and then the vote is taken, and the majority rules, and when you leave the room, it's as if it was a unified, unanimous vote. That's how it has to be.
Correct.
And I can't mention answer being other than B, which is the things you present.
Bill?
I would say D, similar to what Pat said. You accept with civility the majority vote. However, that does not necessarily spell the end of an issue. An example being, if the board votes to invest our funds in a certain way, and the performance of the portfolio is not good, then you could reintroduce the issue and have it discussed again. So accept with dignity and civility the majority rule. However, continue to track these issues.
Terrific. Go back to you guys.
Back to you, Alice.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Do board members, and this is going to be a yes or no, and we're going to go down. Do board members receive any special perks or compensation for their service?
Pat's driving his
Perks
laptop.
as in, if you have to you come back up and forth from New York and New Jersey, should you get paid for that? You are required by Fawn Lake to attend a district magistrate's meeting. I don't know, anybody knows, what else, Fran? Oh,
Got a car?
Yeah. What else are some things,
Dues paid.
well, yeah, you get your dues paid, but it's more that, we've heard questions of, can I get reimbursed for mileage, something that you're doing as a board? Yes, let's see your hand. No, let's see your hand.
Where'd that voice come from?
Okay. You're correct on the no part.
I didn't even volunteer.
Go ahead.
Go down the line, is there any amenity you would like to see added to Fawn Lake Forest that we don't currently have? Any ideas? Okay.
I think the entryway at West Lawn Road, now that the mailboxes are gone, I think that could be nicer. Could be of the status of the woodlot properties where you have some water component in it. That can be so much nicer, and be so much better for everyone to see every day.
Not bad.
So there was something that long-term planning had been looking at, and then COVID happened. So one of the things that we were thinking of, and one of the residents brought up, was the baseball field out here, putting up some nets and using it as like a driving range for golfing. So that's something I would like to see move forward, look into again, as the summer's coming. I was actually very involved going to a lot of township meetings with the dog park up until the dog park was approved by the township.
Not so much an amenity, but the music out here last year, I'd like to see more things like that. There were a lot of people here from the community, And I think everybody had a really good time and enjoyed it. And I'd like to see the community do more activities like that to get people together.
You'll give us $1,000 if we
I give you that much.
That's what it costs.
If I may, I think it's something that's on for consideration now. The hiking trail sounds like a nice idea. Is there not a hiking trail on the agenda? Diane? Or can you consider that on? Well, anyway, if it is or if it isn't, I think it would be a nice idea.
There's a lot of different things going on with that. Bill, last but not least.
Yes. Actually, what I would like to see is, I agree, we should do something with the entranceways. I'd like to see some improvements on, like a notice board, a bulletin board, instead of having signs that posted on a signpost. You know, it would add, you know, first impressions, everything. If people come in, I just think it would be a nice thing to have a community notice or bulletin board put up. That would be, you know, more an improvement, I guess, than an amenity, but it would be a positive impact for, you know, people, you know, not only residents, but people visiting, coming in also.
You have any questions? I have one more. Okay. In your opinion, this will be the last one. Well, but we're taking it, so we want to, this is an important decision for people to make. In your opinion, and again, keep this limited to a statement, I would ask that you not elaborate. What has this, and we'll say previous boards, not going back 60 years, but in the recent years, done right for Fawn Lake? And what have they done, in your opinion, wrong for Fawn Lake? Dr. Bill, we'll go down.
Well, I think the board, from what I've seen, works very hard, and they try and make the best decision for the community. They do. Working in public employment, the only thing I was really kind of negative on was like the mailbox project. Went with known contractors that did a good job. I'm not saying that the work was not, you know, quality work. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I think now there's a lot of competition out there where quotes should be received, get your free quotes. And you can, you know, go to LACWAX meetings, they turn down quotes because of one reason or another, even though it's a low bidder. Not saying go with the low bidder, but, you know, I think it would be good to get, you know, competition here for major projects in Fawn Lake.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, I feel that the mailbox project, I feel we should have maybe looked into that a little more. I know we tried to get quotes, and I know that we were having trouble getting quotes, but I feel that was very, very expensive. But I have seen changes in Fawn Lake that I have really liked, like the mini golf course. I think that's great, the dog park. Those are all positive improvements that we've seen that have really helped the community.
Thank you.
I would say the positive improvements over the years have been the finances of this community. Thank you, Doug. So when I came on the board, the community was in a very, very bad financial state. This is back in 2011, I believe it was. And it was in a very bad financial state. Now it's completely the opposite. The other thing is all the amenities that are going in. The dog park, the miniature golf. There's a lot of nicer things coming in here, and that's what I want to see, you know, moving forward. I mean, there's been some contentious topics we've discussed over the last couple of years, but I don't think anything that's negatively impacted this community. So that's where I stand with that.
Thank you.
I agree with Mike. I'm sorry I wasn't before you. The finances are the biggest thing. Our treasurer and assistant treasurer, Rod and Diane, have done a marvelous job. We're in great financial shape. That's number one. The other thing is the amenities that we have, keeping them up. I'm more concerned with keeping in best shape what we have before we start adding things, and not to add so many that we can't keep them all in good shape. And I think that we've been cognizant of that in the past. And as far as the mailbox project goes, we are not dealing with the same township rules that we dealt with years ago. Everything has string after string, and we had to do wetland studies. They keep coming up with all of these extra things that add money to our projects. This happened with all of our recent projects. And that's part of the problem of the cost. So I don't know how we're gonna get around that. New York is, I mean, Pennsylvania is not what it used to be years ago. So, I think that we've accomplished quite a bit. And one of the accomplishments I like was the one that John's project with housing came about, the real estate development. When they made the requirements for a home 1,500 points instead of 1,500 square feet, so that you could get a 1,200 square foot house with certain additions to the beauty of the property and of the house that would bring it up to 15 points. And I think that would attract a certain buyer, possibly retirees or, you know, young couples or something like that that would want a house of that type. So I think that was a positive. We have had a lot of positive things.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, I agree with mostly what everybody said about, you know, improving the community with the new amenities and the importance of keeping them up, and as well as keeping the financial stability, which I also agree on. And as far as negatives go, I can't really think of many, but I kind of do agree with the mailbox project. But I think the problem is with the community, everybody really doesn't know the details that go into it. So I think that's part of the negativity towards it. But I don't really have any other negative feedback.
I agree with what a lot has been said about, you know, managing the amenities and the development of the community. But I think it's really just the fact that they've served and given their time and effort on what is oftentimes looked at as a very thankless job, having been on boards. You'll always have somebody unhappy with something that you did. And just the fact that the loyalty has been, particularly someone like Todd who's been here for so long, I think that's the good that they've done, just serving the community and the need that we have for having this board. As far as negatives, maybe I haven't been long enough, but I really have not seen anything that I would grossly disagree with what's been done.
I don't have anything negative to say. In fact, I applaud the board. I mean, you know, the introduction of all the amenities that we see from the gym to the exterior amenities, the way the community is maintained, you know, is something to congratulate the board about. And the benefits we realize are those that we can't see. We don't see an escalating crime rate in the community. We don't see deterioration. We don't see bankruptcy with Fawn Lake Forest Association. So besides the things that are tangible and that we could see, we also need to remind ourselves of the benefit of the things we can't see and we take for granted.
Thank you for answering that. So you're going to have the opportunity to vote for these folks and a few that are not here. But in order for you to be eligible to do that, guess what the Treasury wants? Money.
Got to be in good standing.
You must pay your dues on time in order to receive a ballot. So we would invite you to do that. The ballot that you receive is self-explanatory. Please read it, fill it out. Do not bring it to the office. It is not counted at the office. It will not, they will not open it. There will be an envelope there for you to send it to our accountant, Bill Owens. It must be received by Bill Owens' office by June 30th so that they can have time to count. Don't wait till the last minute. If he gets a ballot on May 5th, it ain't being counted. So get your ballot and sign it and get it out. There's two parts to it. The first part is you're voting for yourself. The second part says it's basically a proxy. It says, I'm not sure I want the board of directors to vote my vote. Or I want somebody else. I want Ken Skirbo to vote for my vote. That's the proxies. Do not fill out both, just one. Sign it and send it back.